Hi everyone, my name is Charena. I am an alumni from Cal Poly Pomona from 2014, and I graduated as a business information systems major. So I'm currently working as an interactive web developer in the international corporate landscape, and I work in marketing and advertisement as well as commercial TVCs. So I wanted to share with you guys my experience in working and what it's like to work in the corporate landscape in the international um, scope. So, usually, I don't do many lectures, but I really do want to encourage anybody who wants to get into this field to do to get into tech and to try to enjoy um, the career path that we've chosen, um, because tech is it's an ever-changing environment. It's a great industry to be in. So let's start. Um, so today I am going to talk about my experience in working in Southeast Asia, and how I've managed my career and kind of grown to do a career in technology here. So, right now I'm currently working as a contractor for interactive web development, but I also do front end, back end, full stack development as well, which I didn't expect to get into this career, but it just happened that I did get into this career. um, so usually I try to talk about cross-cultural um, cross-culture interference when it comes to working in technology because of the different business cultures that you will encounter, and also the different language barriers and culture barriers that you'll encounter in your career. So, um, in my line of work, I work as um, a mediator, usually between countries and between multinational teams, to build a successful project as well as to make the best of our our projects in the future. Um, Most of my work also includes working with multilingual users as well as multicultural interfaces so that it can fully unite um, the brand awareness that each brand or each company is trying to show for the international landscape. Uh, so let's get into it. When working for international clients, um, it's a very fast-paced as well as a very high turnover environment. And so a lot of the times, I try to encourage a lot of my team to be understanding of the differences between each team. So, a lot of times, since it's such a fast-paced environment, there's also a lot of high stress and a lot of um, changes that are going to be made so that it can accommodate our deadlines and our quarterly goals. So I encourage a lot of people to try to have a good reputation or to develop a good rapport among clients because the industry is small and people will talk. So, so when you work for international clients, a lot of times there's going to be a barrier in communication and a lot of misunderstanding because of how people have developed their careers and how you've developed your careers, they're not coherent with each other. However, I highly encourage a lot of um, people to network and to go to community events in the tech sphere, tech space that can be mutually beneficial to you and your relationships and can actually help you maybe push you in the right direction for your career. Um, a lot of professionals, when they're in the field, they don't realize that networking is a very big part of your work, not just the technical skill or the understanding of, um, the tech stack, the tech space, just understanding people. That, in my opinion, is the most important thing when it comes to our work. Primarily because it can give you a more of a lateral, horizontal understanding of the industry instead of a vertical understanding of the industry, which most people don't take a full understanding to. So when I talk about horizontal understanding of the industry, it's understanding the reach and the scope and who's the big players, who are the small players in the industry. So, um, yeah, I encourage anybody to just go out and network. Maybe, go to a community event. Just listen to other people, introduce yourself, and say, hey, I've worked in this field for some time now, or I want to work in this field and I want to have a career in this space. And some people are more than willing to mentor you and help you in that direction. So, highly encourage it. I also think that for international clients, a lot of times just a basic understanding of the linguistics that are used in the corporate office or in the office or the company culture can be a big help. So, for instance, learning about what the business culture is like, what the hierarchy is like, how to introduce yourself in that language, or just like very simple things like learning how to, bow for some cultures or not bow in some cultures, like handshakes and be more lenient and laid back. So, um, yes, that is that's the first understanding, or that's the first thing I would like to tell anybody who wants to get in the field, um, or to even just expand their career to an international landscape. So, um, yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is developing proposals. Um, and from my experience, I have to do a lot of proposals that I use for my own personal business for prospective clients, um, because sometimes there is a lot to be understood about what the client needs, what their business needs are, and we will, or me and my team will develop proposals that will be in their budget. So, in order for us to develop high awarded proposals, we try to develop very accurate understandings and accurate budgets for the client needs. Um, so usually, in my proposals, I will have two different types of proposals. One is usually by the hourly rates, and the second one is by project basis based on budgets of what the client can give us. And then I will develop a team that can help the client um, reach their goals and their vision. So a lot of times it also depends on your own accounting and how you deal with um, your work. So this I will tell people to develop your own needs and then understand the business needs so that you can find and negotiate a median between the two. Um, so usually what I keep in mind is understanding the duration of the project, the resources, human resources, technical resources, and the amount of work that needs to be done, as well as understanding um, the scope of the industry itself, which most people don't look into. Um, so sometimes there are industries that are much bigger than we've imagined, and the scope of the project is much. It's a bigger size than what we can understand. So understanding how to look at the scope of the industry, the scope of the actual project itself, and the scope of the resources you need to use, the technical resources, and the amount of work that needs to be done so that the company can reach its vision. That's how I will do my proposals. Usually, we have like deliverables, time frame, resource management, and the duration of the project that might be um, very important, as well as the technical tools and our internal resources that we will have to use. So, for instance, to keep our business running, electricity, and all that stuff. So, when we develop proposals, please keep in mind there are many factors that go into it, and I hope that if any of you guys need help, you can always ask me for help and always come to me for questions. Um, so I also, another thing to keep in mind is to look at the fees and the amount of revisions that need to be done for certain projects. If it's like a single layer project. However, if you're doing a um, full proposal for any government contracts or even just any industry related projects, it's going to take time. So sometimes people will be like, well, this person's charging much cheaper than what you're charging. Well, yes, if that's the case, then please go with them first, and then they will come back to you and you can readjust their work and adjust their projects for them. So next one is the next topic is now cultural research for clients. So this one's a little more of what I like to do. I like to do cultural research for my team and for my clients. So a lot of my clients are companies that have been established in their country that need to be, I guess, they want to expand their reach in the international landscape. They want to expand to Thailand. They want to do marketing in Philippines. They want to do marketing in Indonesia. And a lot of times what happens is they have this rose color idea of what the country is like from their vacations and their experiences or their work experiences. But it takes a lot more understanding of the culture itself and the resources available in those countries that most people don't understand. So, for instance, this is like very very different than most people is um, international clients will come to me and say, hey, can we expand in Thailand? But we want to use US English because we want to just use the Singaporean, you know, projects to expand to Thailand, or we want to do things. So a lot of times I will have to deny this request from them because only 27% of Thai people use US English. Most people speak Thai in Thailand. So I would always recommend to localize for the Thai market. And this is not just the Thai market. There's actually many markets that have um, this issue. So, for instance, in the Philippines, we can use U.S. English, but the type of faces that are more likely to be an impression on a commercial is much different. Understanding the current political landscape is also very important, um, primarily because for all the wars and the what's happening in the world, some people are very sensitive to um, certain terminology or certain tech that is used by certain teams in certain countries. So um, I highly encourage to everybody to do cultural research for your clients, and also you can understand that if you do have cultural understanding of the country, you have a bigger reach in the market, and you'll have a much bigger profit, or you'll have a much bigger income for your business. So, so for instance, there are a few things here. We have like Nordic and Scandinavian countries. Those terms are very specific to certain countries, but if you localize for different countries, you can use it. Or Asian countries, there are 11 countries in ASEAN, but um, some countries do not want to be included in ASEAN marketing. And then there's Eastern European, East Asia, EU, and ALAC, and all that. So definitely do your cultural research. Um, so the next topic I want to talk about is developing a work environment. So in many corporations, there is already technology that is used for teams to integrate to. Um, there's already a full stack tech stack that they use, which requires good documentation to understand. And a lot of people, a lot of teams will not change their tech stacks, which means us as contractors or workers or freelancers or the new teams that are implemented will have to go through the documentation to understand the tech stacks that the corporations, the companies that you're working for are using. So I highly encourage anybody to have a good documenter, someone that can document and understand the terminology. A tech writer that's like, find someone that's a good tech writer that's do your documentation, um, or write in between your codes the documentations that you need. So make comments. However, some companies will not allow that because of security risk. But for like smaller projects or for projects that are not high security for marketing purposes, advertisements, yeah, highly encouraged to do good comments and just comments line, certain places where you can remove certain code, add certain code, blah, blah, blah. And yes, so in certain work environments, specifically for client-facing environments, I encourage everyone to do a developer environment, production environment, and a live. So you guys can ask me more about that if you need help with that. But for certain companies, they already have it all set. But for smaller projects, always have a developer environment that the developer can play around in a sandbox. A production environment that when you need to push to live, it's already set for it to look professional and for the client to use. So, two environments. Um, there might be more for certain companies because that's MBA, but for certain companies, please, they might have more than that, but they will always have a copy of previous production environments or stage environments that they use. So um, a lot of times our environments also have, can be accessed by terminal, can be accessed by, command line, or like an internal user interfaces for the non-technical teams. Um, but all the internal user interfaces should have two-factor authentication as well as authorization from executives for new device implementation, new people to join that environment. So, um, and I also think that for project management, um, a lot of times we have ticketing systems that are either internal or department wide. So, internal ticketing systems for certain small teams, as well as ticketing systems for the department. Um, and for these departments, usually they'll designate to certain teams what they need, and that can give you more remote accessibility as well as giving you more freedom so that the teams don't have to be in the office all the time. Most of the software we use are already out in the market. So we use like Atlassian, Jira, Trello, um, and we use internal communication like Slack, and we integrate Slack with that. So um, hopefully you guys can take that and use it for what you need. um, I also code in Python, even though I have front end knowledge, but I won't ever use Python in my work because I'm not in computer software engineering. Um, I use Python to make automation easier for my work. Um, that is usually authorized by the executive or my team leads or whatever executives, management. But I will never use Python for security reasons. They're just for tools. So, and then you always have like your front end technologies, certain technologies that already have a very good documentation for it. Okay, so other than our work environments, I highly encourage anybody who is working in tech to have an at-home self lab. So, uh, usually we will have two computers when we work as a contractor or freelancers. Um, or even for when I hire my teams, I will give them um, a virtual environment to work in. Um, that is for work only and not for self-use or recreational use. So since we're in tech, we have to understand the changing environment and the changing landscapes that the changing technologies that are coming in the industry. So I encourage everybody to have a at-home self-lab for your other line of work to advance your own skills so that you're competitive in the tech space. Um, Usually the at-home self-labs are built for your projects, your self-projects, and your own um, your own uses, recreational uses, so that you can tweak around, build things, and it's your own personal landbox. But this at-home self-lab should never be used for or connected to the ecosystem, work ecosystem, primarily because of security reasons. We don't want to have a security risk of, someone using an open source software that can all of a sudden have a backdoor from a developer from Russia. We don't want that. So those two environments need to be separated. Um, and I know it's very hard for some people to be able to set that up for themselves. However, you can always do virtual environments or make different, separate your disks so that you can work on two different environments. And also, it's not your fault if anything happens sometimes. Usually it's, the corporations not having a good environment, like a very secure environment. So don't feel bad if anything happens, which I've had sometimes. Okay, so uh, the next topic I want to talk about is expat visas and tax laws for people who want to travel the world in tech and be a remote worker. Expat visas are very important to know because a lot of times in certain countries there are visas for expats who are of high technical skill that you can leverage your skill to apply for. Some, like for instance, in Japan, Thailand also has expat visas. Australia, New Zealand for sure. So I do encourage everyone to look into expat visas as well as the tax laws for the business. So tax laws are important because currently in Thailand, if you stay more than 180%, or more than 180 days, you'll be taxed 10% on whatever income you make as an expat or as a remote worker. Um, so there's actually two types of visas that you should know. The first is the digital nomad visas, which allow an individual of a certain income to stay in a country as long as they work solely digitally and only work online. So you can't work in an office, you only work in tech. Um, and then it's not just for tech workers, there's also photographers, influencers who have these digital nomad visas that you can apply your skills to. So um, definitely, it's even if you're not in tech and you want to, have very uh, a good lifestyle where you can travel and enjoy life a bit. There are many ways to become a digital nomad. That doesn't just include being in tech. Um, and then there are remote worker visas, which are completely different. So remote workers visas, you need to check with the companies you work for if they have jurisdiction in those countries, and if they can or cannot support you while you work in those countries. So that's where pay can deviate between people as well as the location that you're in. So for some people, they don't have or for some companies, they don't have jurisdictions in certain countries here in Southeast Asia that will not allow their workers to work in those countries, no matter how much you want to work in a certain country. Um, just because there's either competitors there in that business or in that industry that won't allow that to happen, or because the company itself has not opened a branch in those countries. So it's definitely good to think about and good to look into. Um, okay, so that is my presentation for you guys, and I hope that I wasn't going too much into it, but my name is Charena. I am a interactive web developer, but also an international consultation um, for tech companies and tech workers. And if you ever need any help in in expanding your business, or if you just want to ask me questions about how to expand your career in the tech space in other countries, um, you guys can send me a Gmail or send me questions online. And I want to thank Chris Latch here for inviting me to speak today, and um, Cal Poly Pomona, go Broncos. I will always support the cybersecurity awareness fair because it is an important part of expanding the passion of people. So I hope you guys enjoyed my lecture today. Uh, you can always criticize me too and send me emails on what I can change about my public speaking. Um, and please, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out, add me on LinkedIn, add me on TikTok. I don't care. So, okay. Bye, guys.